Hugh Hewitt, a Fox News contributor. Hugh, good morning to you. You write this: there was a lot of news, but only one story that history will focus on. Go ahead and explain that, and how best do we assess the strategy thus far on behalf of Netanyahu and by extension, Donald Trump? Yes, good morning, Hugh.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning, Jackie. I think the context is important. Israel has unleashed a shock and awe campaign, the likes of which Iran has never experienced. The last war that Iran was in was 1980 to 1988 with Iraq. I believe the Iraqi Air Force managed to get to Tehran 5 times or less in the first weeks of that war. Air superiority was never achieved by either side. It went on for 8 years, but the air war didn't matter. Israel has air dominance, and they are methodically going after and destroying everything. President Trump has allowed this to happen. He greenlit crumbs that people were paying attention along the course of last week, indicating he thought the negotiations were going to fail. He gave Iran 60 days. He will not be allowed to have a nuke. And as they made their rush, which began in November after his election, Netanyahu began the planning. Those two men, Netanyahu and Trump, have arranged for Iran to feel jolts of the sort they have never felt before. And I think the Ayatollah Khamenei may be the most inept and erratic fanatic to ever run a major power. It's not a nuclear power, but it's a major power. And every decision he's made has been bad. His entire strategy, built up over 30 years to surround Israel, is in ruins because Sinwar went early on 10/7 with that horrific massacre. And Israel has methodically reduced all the threats, and now they're going to reduce the threat from Iran.
So, Hugh, Israel has obviously been saying that for this to be considered a success, you've really got to take out Fordo and eliminate the nuclear capability. The president seems to be pretty aware that this is a contentious decision, even within his base, trying to distinguish between how you can be America first and still potentially have to intervene in something that he said he would not do, no new wars during the campaign. Is this a binary choice for the president?
No, Jackie, good question. I think it's a spectrum choice. He can choose to come in very hard, very early and join Israel in shock and awe, or he can just continue to allow Israel to operate for as long as they need to. I want to distinguish, though, among the president's overwhelming majority last November. There are some loud voices and there are a lot of large numbers of people. The large number of people support President Trump. There are some very loud voices that do not like Israel, do not want to get involved in this, and the president has shut them down or told them he's going to ignore them. Doesn't mean he's mad at them, just said, you're not in this particular discussion. He's meeting with his National Security Council. The National Security Advisor and Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is a hawk when it comes to Iran and has been for decades. So I think the president will get excellent advice from Pete Hegseth, excellent advice from Rubio, excellent advice from all of his military commanders at CENTCOM on down. And if we choose to do it, if Israel needs us to do it, I heard the president in the clip you play, they will not have a nuke. That must be the 1,000th time he said it. If that means B-2s over Fordo, I think there will be B-2s over Fordo, but I don't underestimate what the Israelis have up their sleeve.
Let me come back to that comment there. Here's Eric Trump with Sean last night. Listen to this.
If we ever have to use it, we're going to knock the hell out of them. It will be so decisive. It will be over so quickly. I really wish people on the other side of the world were listening to those comments. He's been saying it all week. I do not want to go to war, but if I have to, I'm going to knock somebody's head off. And my father does want peace.
You were reflecting a little bit on this good cop, bad cop public relationship that we watched between Netanyahu and Trump. And you mentioned Fordo. Do you expect that to be inevitable, Hugh?
Yes, because it is the most important part of their chain. It's where they have the most centrifuges. It's where they've invested the most money in protecting those centrifuges. Without the centrifuges, they have no nuclear program. There is some highly enriched uranium, many places in Iran, that has to be disposed of when they agree to finally denuclearize and abandon their program. But as long as Fordo remains operating and potentially turned back on, the nuclear program is still alive and Iran can rush to a nuke. And I think everybody in the Trump White House, certainly President Trump, understands that. So I do think it's inevitable that either Israel does it or we help Israel do it, because the Middle East is not going to be safe and America is not going to be safe until Fordo is destroyed.
Hugh, here's what Benjamin Netanyahu said about the choice that President Trump is facing. Listen here.
Look, we're fully coordinated, but understand that America, under President Trump, will make the decisions that are best for America. And that's the way it is. He understands that I, as the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, must make the decisions that are important for the survival of my country, and he will do what is best for America. That is a relationship of mutual respect and mutual confidence.
There's been some reporting to suggest that if the U.S. does intervene, that somehow nixes the prospect of a nuclear deal forever. Do you buy into that? Do you think that, some agreement after potential involvement is out of the question?
I think that the Middle East is going to have an era of peace once the Iranian nuclear threat and their proxies are destroyed. I think the Abraham Accords are going to grow fast and strong. Israel is going to be at the centerpiece of relationship with many of its Arab and Muslim neighbors. There's going to be peace in Palestine. I believe the president is genuinely committed to that. He started the Abraham Accords in term one. Iran is doing all they can to block the expansion of that because they're a fundamentalist theocracy. But I thought what the prime minister said to Brett was brilliant. And it reminded me, this is not anywhere near the same scale, but it reminded me of the way that Churchill would speak about FDR during the period of time that America was not in the war and England was on the front lines. And it was always Winston Churchill saying about FDR, good things that FDR deserved as FDR negotiated the isolationist right and left in his own country. And the same dynamics at play here with two very, very capable and experienced leaders in both countries.
Hugh, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Hugh.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.